You have a case coming from Texas, begun by a woman who on paper, at least, is named Jane Roe. She was 21 years old, she was pregnant, and she didn't want to have this baby. The Texas law was one of the strictest in the nation. It allowed abortion only in cases to save the life of the mother. So even if you had a situation where a young woman had been raped or the victim of incest, she still could not get an abortion in Texas.
Equal pay for equal work, join our round! Equal pay for equal work, join our...
Women were by definition, by nature, intended, many people believed, to take care of homes and children. And to say that's not true, but that women have a right to be lawyers and doctors and police officers, that was radical.
You have the Equal Rights Amendment moving through the Senate and the House. You have Ms. Magazine being started by Gloria Steinem. You have the American Civil Liberties Union starting a women's rights project. There's a lot of agitation in America over women's rights.
Abortion is our right!
There was an assumption that if you had a baby, if you were a mother, you were no longer entitled to pursue a career. Abortion rights meant symbolically that women did have choices. Women could say, not now, later, or not at all.
I think the justices believed that the women's rights movement was so clearly the wave of the future that was just about to happen that everybody's for abortion because everybody's for women's rights.
In fact, in conference, there was an easy majority for striking down the Texas law.
Warren Burger gives the opinion to his friend, Harry Blackmun. Harry Blackmun and Warren Burger had been childhood chums in Minnesota. Warren Burger, I think, believes that he could have more control over the opinion.
Blackmun didn't know why Burger assigned the opinion to him. Maybe because he'd been counsel to the Mayo Clinic back in Minnesota. But what would his doctor friends think about this case? Blackmun was in turmoil. At home, his 3 grown daughters happened to be visiting. So at supper, Blackmun put the question, "What are your views on abortion?" By the time his wife and 3 daughters sounded off on him, Blackmun announced, "I think I'll go lie down. I'm getting a headache."
Justice Blackmun was a very green justice at this point in his career. The workload is very tough. It's very much of a burden within the marble walls.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional.
How in the world did such a conservative justice write this incredibly activist liberal opinion in Roe? Well, if you go back and read the opinion, it doesn't read as some sort of charter of feminist rights. It reads as a charter of doctors' rights. He actually researched the history of abortion, and his visceral response was the state ought not to be telling doctors how to regulate pregnancy.